Imagine this. A country pledges dozens of powerful battle tanks to support a war-torn ally, but months later, not a single one has arrived. That's exactly what's happening right now. Australia promised to send 49 M1A1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, but the delivery delayed. Why? Is it politics, logistics, or something else entirely? In this video, we'll break down the full story, step by step, so you understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes. In October 2024, Australia announced a military aid package worth 245 million Australian dollars. A major highlight of this package? The donation of 49 M1A1 Abrams tanks. These are American-made battle tanks, strong, reliable, and used in wars like Iraq. Australia bought them from the US in the early 2000s, but never used them in combat. So instead of letting them sit idle, Australia decided to give them to Ukraine to help defend against Russian aggression. But here's where it gets complicated. Since the tanks were originally made by the US, Australia can't just hand them over to Ukraine. They need permission from the US government. This is known as third-party transfer approval, but due to internal US politics and a temporary freeze on military aid to Ukraine ordered by President Trump earlier this year, this approval is stuck. And without that green light, Australia legally can't send the tanks, no matter how willing they are. Now let's talk about logistics. Even if the US gives approval, actually moving these tanks is a major operation. Originally, the US was operating a military logistics hub in Rzeszów, Poland, a crucial hub for transporting weapons and equipment to Ukraine. But recently, the US military withdrew from this base, which has disrupted a key part of the supply chain. Also, some of the Abrams tanks need upgrades or repairs before they're combat ready. And right now there aren't enough trained personnel available to handle this process. So even if the paperwork is done, the tanks still won't be ready overnight. Another issue that has raised eyebrows is whether these tanks are even the right choice for Ukraine's war strategy. The M1A1 Abrams is a very powerful tank, but it has one big vulnerability. Its top armor is weak against drone strikes. And drone warfare has become a major part of this war. In fact, just a few months ago, Ukrainian troops had to pull back some US-supplied Abrams tanks from the front lines after several were destroyed by Russian drones. So some military experts argue that these tanks may not survive long in modern combat zones, especially without proper support and planning. This delay also has political consequences. For Australia, it puts pressure on the government to deliver on its promise and prove its support for Ukraine. For the US, it raises questions about how committed they are to Ukraine's defense, especially with the political divide over aid spending. And for Ukraine, it's yet another reminder that relying on international help is not always fast or reliable. Every delay costs time. And time is a luxury Ukraine can't afford in this ongoing war. In summary, Australia wants to send tanks to Ukraine, but US approval is pending, logistics are messy, and the tanks may not even be the best tool for the battlefield. This is a complex situation involving geopolitics, defense strategy, and international law. It's a reminder that military aid is not just about promises, it's about process. Priorities and preparation. Let's see if these tanks will finally reach Ukraine and whether they'll make a difference in a war that's changing every day.